to you. In the meanwhile, there's another lady coming. But this is Dr. Pratim Rai, and we know each other for close to 2 decades now. But the reason he's here today is that he represents a very, very famous organization. We have spoken to you about it, DMSC, Durbar Mahila Samanvaya Committee. We said that it's created a record of sorts with the World Health Organization and many other international organizations. The first time Dr. Sharojit Jana, their founder, really hit the headlines was when they revolutionized the whole thing around the Shonagachi project. So Dr. Rai today, who's a medical doctor by profession and somebody who genuinely believes in this cause and been with this organization for years together. And incidentally, I did explain to you that before we started the PGP course in this manner, we ran a lot of MDPs, organizations. So in that manner, so Dr. Rai was our student also in that period. So it's a very long association, and of course we are on first name terms, but never mind. Today is Dr. Rai for the purpose of this class. And there's also Dr. Kanchan Gaba, who is doesn't see, but she'll be accompanied by somebody. She is
10 minutes.
Blind basically. So she will present Turnstone Global. That's the other NGO. She's on her way. But we have enough time. But since we are coming to a close of one chapter, I need to explain to you the second part of the course. The third being the one which the guest faculty will take. Alright? So there has been, the other reason why I want to talk to you about it, we have made...
It's not working.
Oh, it's not working. There's been a minor change in dates, very minor one. So therefore we've reshuffled the groups handling presentations, right? So if you have seen the course when 3 or 4 days back, when was it posted? No, before that, was it posted? Last week. So go by this version. Don't go by the last week's version. I assume that none of you have seriously, at least the groups that will present later, have not really started working assiduously. So there is time to make that adjustment. So we've gone by it serially. Okay? So therefore the first presentation is on Tuesday, 25th of September. The topic is leadership in NGOs. Alright? There's a case study, Narayan Rudayalaya Heart Hospital, Cardiac Care for the Poor, Part A. Alright? And that is a very famous heart hospital, for those who don't know, run by a very charismatic doctor, cardiac surgeon actually, Dr. Devi Shetty, highly awarded. But he started his career here, down the road, if you go on the Diamond Harbour Road, beyond the infamous Majarhat Bridge, you would come to a hospital called the B.M. Birla Heart Hospital. That's where Dr. Devi Shetty spent a number of years of his life as a very eminent cardiac surgeon. He was, just to tell you a little brief story, he was particularly kind to little children. When little children had heart ailments, he would sometimes do it for free. And that is where I think somewhere he fell out of favor with the management, because obviously when you don't charge, it's not a decision that a practicing doctor can take. It's also something that affects the balance sheet and profit and loss of the organization. Please come. So eventually when they parted ways, Dr. Devi Shetty moved to Bangalore, which is where he comes from. But he was here in Bengal for many years. He speaks fluent Bengali. And he lived here for many years, practiced here, and really acquired his fame, name and reputation here. And then in the early, I think in the year 2000, if I'm not wrong, he was invited by our then very charismatic Chief Minister, not the current one, but then Mr. Jyoti Basu, who was one of India's longest serving Chief Ministers. Somebody we proudly said in Bengal, even the Prime Minister is scared of. We don't know whether the current Prime Minister is scared of the current Chief Minister. But at that point in time, Mrs. Indira Gandhi was quite apprehensive about Mr. Basu because they were classmates once upon a time in England, but forget it. Mr. Jyoti Basu invited Dr. Devi Shetty to set up a hospital, which is what has happened in Calcutta. Rabindranath Tagore International Institute of Cardiac Sciences came up in Mukundapur, and it's owned by and run by the Asia Heart Foundation, which was partly Dr. Devi Shetty and partly Dr. Alok Roy. And then later on, Dr. Devi Shetty set up, or rather his organization set up, came to be known as Narayan Hrudaya. Hrudaya basically means heart in Kannada or in Sanskrit or whatever. So Narayana, home of the heart, heart hospital. But it is expanded much more to become a multi-speciality hospital, and they have set up many other branches in many cities, Jaipur and many others. So it's now a pan-India setup, but primarily working on heart, but also in collaboration with Dr. Kiran Mazumdar-Shaw, also in things like cancer. They also work, they have a hospital here, what's it called, West, it's in Howrah district, this region's West Bank. West Bank. It's the most, let's say, the busiest cancer hospital of this part of the country. That's also run by the same foundation. They work on kidneys, they work on, it's multi-speciality now. They work on teeth, they work with eyes, everything virtually. But it's essentially started off with cardiac care. The model of the hospital is very interesting. You can see from the case study. All right. I'm saying all this much because I want to introduce it to you. So that case study, if I'm not wrong, is a Harvard Business School case study, which is going to be presented by this group. Tamils, Yusuf, Vincent, and so on and so forth. 8 students. And the person who will be there to moderate and judge the case works in the same hospital. So that's the idea. So he has been a close associate, Dr. Vinayak Dev. P. Dev has been a very close associate of Dr. Devi Shetty for, I think, a decade and a half. Dr. Dev is somewhat younger than me, not very much, but somewhat younger. He did his medical degree from Orissa, and then he, I think he met up with Dr. Shetty, and then Dr. Shetty even deputed him for a while to work as a personal physician to the King of Brunei. So that's just saying something. Then after that stint, he came back, and he has been with Dr. Shetty in his first venture, which is the Rabindranath Tagore Institute of Cardiac Sciences, where he is an interventionist, senior interventionist, one of the most senior-most doctors there. And basically inspired by Dr. Shetty's example as charisma, their long association, he has set up this organization called the Moinapur Rural Health Foundation, which in fact is a separate foundation, has no official links with Narayan Hrudaya, as he will explain to you, but the work is done jointly with Narayan Hrudaya. So it's very interesting. It's an experiment in rural health which goes beyond the mandate of Narayan Hrudaya. Narayan Hrudaya, as you are aware, is set up largely in cities. Okay, but Moinapur Rural Health Foundation is in Bankura district, and it's it's basically some hours away from Calcutta. Dr. Shetty, Dr. Devi Shetty has taken personal interest in the working of the foundation. He'll talk more about it, but that's not the idea. Now what happens in this presentation? You will present Narayan Hrudaya, this case, from the perspective of leadership. The leadership of Dr. Devi Shetty. So what you probably need to figure out, there are no case questions. I'm taking all this effort to explain because there are no questions, and some of you, one young man asked me what are the questions associated with cases. We do not have questions. We have a topic or a perspective. This particular case can be looked at from various perspectives, but the perspective from which we will look at is leadership. Please cover the overall aspects of the case. It's an excellent business model. It's a great social enterprise to emulate ideals, values, all right. But the focus will be, after some quick slides on that, please focus on the group that is presenting. Please focus on the leadership aspect, specifically what is there to learn from the leadership style of Dr. Devi Shetty. What can we learn from it that will help us to understand leadership in NGOs? You might also ask yourself the question, which came up very fleetingly in one of our classes: how similar or different is leadership in an NGO from a corporate organization? You might want to ask yourself that question. Also, you will have met some NGO leaders. Not all of the people that you've seen here are people working with NGOs. Some people you've met are actually people who founded and led their NGOs. So when you do leadership in NGOs, bring the perspective of the case, but we wouldn't mind if you add a slide or two on the leaders you've actually met. For instance, the gentleman of the Institute of Mother and Child in Indian IIMC, Dr. Sujit Brahmachari, works in the same area, same sector, rural health, very much an entrepreneur, a leader. So what is his style, similar, different? You might want to look at that. So not that you have to, but just a suggestion. Okay? And then I suppose somebody who's an insider to the whole story will judge it, and then he will take off from there and present his perspective on Moinapur Rural Health Foundation, and that then we will discuss in class. So actually there will be two presentations. One presentation is by you, a group, whatever it's called, group 1, to talk of Narayan Hrudayalaya from the perspective of leadership, add on other perspectives that you may have acquired outside this course, inside this course, and then once you're done, it will be thrown open and there will be questions from other members here. Idea is everybody reads the case and everybody comes prepared. The presentation is done by one group. Others ask questions. If you remember, there's a 5% weightage on class participation, which has really not been tested. So Amnesha will start marking the meaningful questions, all right? And we will score you on that at the end of the course. Okay? 5% is on class participation. That's where that comes in. Then will be the Moinapur Rural Health Foundation. Again, questions from your side, and then we'll sum up the two to come to some conclusion. So here is the great leader, Dr. Devi Shetty. Here is this younger brother, if you will, Dr. Dev. How have they linked? How has one inspired the other? What has one learned from the other? How is this style similar or different? Okay? This is the best. Is it clear? So what happens typically in one of these classes? The same model is then followed in other cases. Now, the other reason why I want to talk about this is you have also selected individual assignments. And some of them with NGOs you've already met, and some of them with NGOs you're likely to meet, or you're going to meet in the near future. Now, I had a word with Dr. Dev, also basically reconfirming his presence on Tuesday, and he does something which is unique every year for this class. There have been 2 times our students have gone, and groups of 2 students each time, all right? Typically what he does is he organizes the entire trip to Moinapur. So the idea is there is, for those who've signed up, how many have signed up for our Moinapur Rural Health Foundation? I believe there's one. Is she here? He or she? Can we look at the other? Can we look at the other presentation and come back to this? Sorry for a moment. We want to just quickly touch base on that. No. Go to the other presentation, individual assignments. Okay, so who has done Moinapur? Go below. Yeah, so, where is it? Can you figure out?
38.
Oh. So there is one student oh, that's you. Would you like, has everybody already signed up? Is there anybody potentially interested to do this case or to do an assignment in Moinapur? I'll explain the details. What Dr. Dev is proposing is that you, let's say two of you, travel on the 19th of October. You can look up what day of the week it is. 19th of October is the date. And they have a heart camp. So you need to attend that heart camp. So you reach 19th night. 20th is the heart camp, and you return 20th itself back to the city. So you are basically you're leaving campus after lunch on 19th, and you're back to campus 20th night. And basically he's looking for two people. And the brief for those two people is that they go, they watch, observe the heart camp, and they give him suggestions how to really make the whole health intervention more meaningful, more scalable, or whatever. That he will explain on Tuesday. But the reason I'm bringing it up today is that he wants two people. So I told him today we will tell him so that he will buy the train ticket in the meanwhile. So it's a train one way and the car on return. He organizes the vehicle also. You come back with him. So that's Dr. Gaba coming.
Yes.
Yeah. Welcome, Dr. Gaba.
Sorry for...
No, don't worry. Please come sit. We are doing something else, so...
Yes, will you carry on?
Yes.
Just to finish that?
Yes. Yeah. Then there's another presentation, then it will be your turn. Please sit. So, is it all right with you, the date? You are not there on 19th. No, it was not posted. I just asked him this morning. So, are there any students interested? It's 19th to 20th. It's very meaningful, and that's it. That's the only visit. You can then immediately get down to writing the report. So, so you probably can't make it on 19th. So can we make a quick note of their names? There are two students who are volunteering on mission. Yes. Just tell her your name. You got it? And yours? And she's Pauline. Alright? So, what we need very quickly from you is your age and some other particulars. Amnisha, I'll give Dr. Dev your number. What is required to buy a train ticket? I don't know. For somebody who's not an Indian citizen.
Name and age, that's all.
Name and age. You don't need passport. You don't need anything.
The local train.
You sure? Okay. So can you? Well, you don't have to tell me, but tell Amnisha your age so that we can buy the train ticket. So get in touch. Give me a mail which I can forward to Dr. Dev. Okay? So let's just go back. So this is the fashion in which there are a couple of other small announcements. Just wait. So then the next class is on the 20th. So I'm very sorry for you, but you take another topic. Alright? This is not true for any other assignment, but this one has to revolve around the camp. So group 2 then is education. Alright? Here again, Pratham is the case you will analyze. I'm just explaining these two, I won't do the others. Pratham, when you analyze it, Pratham, you basically will see something very clearly there, that the government has been trying to promote universalization of primary education, has not been very or uniformly successful, and therefore has needed organizations like Pratham to work it out. This is going back to saying that the government in India realized many years ago that if it had to implement even good programs, It needed NGOs to help. Pratham is an excellent example. While you are at it, you might look at the examples of CRY and CINI, those people who came and did talk about children, child rights and things like that. And then the gentleman who will judge you is one Mr. Satya Dev. He is from Vikramshila, which is similar to Pratham in the way it went about it. Also an advocacy organization. He will look at it and he will then make a presentation on Vikramshila, and we can then see whether the education experiment in India is going the right way. I'll stop there, but what I need to tell you is, I'll now come to dates. We will, after Puja vacation, we are supposed to meet on 23rd October. So I hope everybody is in on 23rd October. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. When are you back, you guys? Huh? 3rd November, okay, that's no hope. Then, what about the others, you? 3rd November, okay, so that makes no difference. Anyway, 23rd October, we've already put up the notice. Dr. Bhaskar Chakraborty, my colleague here, will take that class on Tagore's experiments. But what I want to tell you, Sorry? Notice has not been put. But we should put it up. Bhaskar has confirmed. We should put it up now, okay? So 23rd, the class will be taken by Bhaskar, Tagore's experiments in education. Can I have a little quiet? I just want to tell you that we have reshuffled the dates. The announcement will go out. 25th of October, you'll have your first project class. Is that the first project class? Yes. So 25th, you are not required to come here to class. You can spend that day working with the NGO, doing whatever, if that works out with whoever you will be working with. Okay? The other thing, therefore, that follows is, earlier tentatively we were looking at 13th for the quiz. Now we are scheduling it for 15th November. So please be there on 15th November, and there is a reason why. In the following week, after 15th November, the guest faculty starts taking classes. The classes of the guest faculty, we will put up the notice over the weekend, but I'm just telling you because I know all of you are busy buying tickets, looking at vacations, possibilities, life in general, whatever. The guest faculty takes consecutive classes, 4 classes between 22nd and 24th November. So there's a scheduled class like today, it's a Thursday, 22nd November, 12 noon to 1:30. His next class will be 8:30 a.m. the following day, 23rd November. And he will take 2 classes on Saturday, 24th November, 10:15 to 11:45 and 12 noon to 1:30 p.m. So therefore 2 or 3 things to remember from this discussion. One is 25th of October, you will probably have a project class, so which you can more fruitfully spend with the NGO. Secondly, the quiz is likely to be on 15th November. Please be there. Don't have any holiday, vacations, sports plans. Thirdly, do not be out of town between 22nd and 24th November because there will be 4 classes, so there will be an attendance issue if you need to go out for something. Okay? And 24th November happens to be a Saturday. There will be 2 classes on that day. Okay? Further notices will follow over the weekend, but just in case you were dreaming of anything in that period, I am giving you advance notice. Alright, now let's move on. So I'll stop here, and I think I've explained the case. The case should be, presentation should be about 20 minutes. Okay, that's the other thing. It's basically intended to be a PowerPoint presentation to be mailed to me and Onnesha before the start of the class, not after. Always before the start of the class. All students are supposed to read the case before they come to class, because that meaningful discussion will come towards your class participation in the sandwich. Okay? Now, over to the long-awaited friend of mine, Dr. Pratim Rai from DMS.